This episode is sponsored by Viva Rays, the only eyewear company that truly understands your biology. Viva Rays are advanced blue light glasses designed with circadian biology in mind. Unlike typical blue blockers, they filter light in harmony with your body's natural rhythms, helping you sleep deeper, feel more energized, and protect your long-term health. We love companies that support biology-backed wellness, and Viva Rays is leading the way. Use code Quantum Healthy at vivarays.com to save 15% and support your sleep, focus, and natural energy the way nature intended. Enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Quantum Healthy Podcast. I'm Andeea, a licensed addiction counselor, and along with my co-host, Laura Kissmann, a quantum nutritionist, we will be inviting expert scientists, clinicians, survivors, and thrivers to distill their pearls of wisdom attained from applying quantum biology to their fields of research and everyday lives. Our goal is to bring you easy to understand principles and practices about the study of light, water, and magnetism so you can take your health into your own hands.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Quantum Healthy Podcast. This is episode 54, and Laura and I wanted to share this episode with you. This is a recording of an episode that we did on the Healthier Tech podcast around the same time last year. Our Blank had been on our podcast and then invited us onto his, and he has been on our podcast twice now, and has just become a awesome regular guest and extremely knowledgeable. And so we wanted to share our interview with you all. So we hope you enjoy this episode.
Coming up today on this episode of the Healthier Tech Podcast.
Sunlight is a natural EMF, electromagnetic frequency, whereas blue light, Wi-Fi routers, cell phones, all this wireless radiation, non-ionizing radiation, it's not, it's the opposite. It's noisy and it's interfering with the signaling that our body needs to be this beautiful orchestra in the body and make this beautiful song with what we call quantum coherence. And it's making things discoherent. And so for you to get into this house with only one place to plug in and, and you took away all that other noise and your body, heard it had all the beautiful signaling. And of course you probably had, you were low cortisol as you went to bed and you had all this melatonin and you had a beautiful sleep.
Welcome to the Healthier Tech Podcast, the show about building a healthier relationship with modern technology. Now here are your hosts, R. Blank and Stephanie Warner.
Steph, one of the few things I remember from high school biology is that the mitochondria is called the powerhouse of the cell. And there's actually a lot of memes about it because apparently a lot of people remember that one fact from high school biology.
I do too.
Yeah. And it's called that because it plays a super important role in the cell, giving it all of its energy. And but I didn't know what we're about to learn from our two guests today.
Yeah, I definitely didn't. I went into it without a lot of knowledge. And by the end, I feel like I know I have a lot more information and especially about the role, not just the role of the mitochondria, but how we can keep it healthy in a different way than we might be more familiar with. And I'm very excited for our audience to learn with us.
Excellent. So let's get into it. Let's learn how to work out your mitochondria.
That's right.
Joining us today are two experts in the field of holistic health and recovery. Andeea Rae is a licensed addiction counselor and quantum health coach, dedicated to helping people realign their lives by connecting with nature's rhythms. And Laura Kissmann is a quantum nutritionist and fellow quantum health coach, using the power of nutrition and biology to promote wellness. Together, they host the Quantum Healthy Podcast, with a mission to demystify quantum biology for health and recovery, aiming to heal both people and the planet. Welcome to the Healthier Tech Podcast, Laura and Andeea.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you both for having us.
Boy, did you practice that? It was perfect sync. So
It really was.
yeah.
Harmony.
So we met a couple months ago when you invited me on your show, and it was really sort of the first time I'd ever heard this term. So I imagine many of my listeners have a similar question, which is, what is quantum biology?
You all want me to take it, Andeea?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So I'll just share that we loved having you on the podcast. I want to make sure we catch that. It was a fabulous interview. Everybody listening to this podcast, please go over, because our blank Sean in that podcast and Dave, your wealth of knowledge on EMFs really, really came through. And you don't gain that by taking a course. That is a lifetime, and obviously co-authoring that book with your dad. So I just had to please tell everybody
Thank you.
It was an amazing experience for Andeea and I to host you. But prior to that, we did have some discussions about what is quantum biology. So that made me dig out my workshop and yeah, because we're so immersed in it, we don't realize that, not everybody knows the term even. But I would say that quantum biology is the intersection of quantum physics and biology. And it's not that you have to be an expert in one of those two, but it's drawing from both. And it's this emerging academic field that is producing compelling evidence that quantum effects take place in living systems, including the human body, because physicists always felt that quantum physics didn't work in a warm, wet environment. So that's why, for example, I don't know a lot about CERN, but I know that it's very, very dry and where they do these quantum physics experiments. And so this discovery is really quite new. There's a scientist, Jim Al-Khalili, and John Joe McFadden. Yeah, those two really, really came together. And I don't know if they maybe termed this quantum biology. And anyway, the paradigm, it's like a paradigm breaking discovery, which is like, it's really shifting the foundation of our understanding of our health, of human health, and how disease really work. And it's looking at, so quantum, think the Latin root is quanta, and quanta means like tiny, like the tiniest thing. So in quantum physics, the tiniest things are things like electrons, photons, protons. And so it's really looking at health, not like, obviously I go nutrition, I go to carbs, fats, and proteins, when we think of food, it's going way below that to the subatomic, subcellular, subatomic level. And it's looking at like these photons, protons, electrons, and how we will probably talk mitochondria. But so Andeea and I have this lens that when we have clients come to us, we ask them a lot of questions, but the whole time we're thinking, how healthy are your mitochondria? because that's where all these electrons, inside the mitochondria is this electron transport chain. We want to know if those electrons are passing, and are they passing efficiently? And so it's a really different way to look at health. And I, for one, and I think many others that have discovered this, it's like it really changes your look at medicine, health, wellness, and recovery. And Andeea's, she's involved in addiction recovery. It really makes you look at everything differently, but also with so much more hope when you add this quantum biology piece, because there's so much more you can do than the existing protocols that will help those existing protocols. And really, we see it as the foundation. Yeah.
So I will add that, just to end that,
it's doing the smallest thing to get the biggest result. That's what we're doing when we're helping somebody. We want them to do the simple things that they may not have thought about to get more in touch with nature. Those little things are going to compound on their health and really increase their longevity, their vitality, their mitochondrial health. So yeah, that was beautifully put, Laura. And then when those physicists started talking to those biologists, they wrote a book. It's called Life on the Edge, if anybody's interested in reading Jim Al-Khalili and John Joe McFadden's book. That's the book that kind of goes over the birth, really, of this science.
And how long ago was that? I mean, roughly, was that book put out?
Yeah, that's a really great question. This science has only been around for about 13 years. It's not in a lot of textbooks, and the Nobel Prize was won in 2017. I can't remember the people, maybe Laura does, but for the circadian health or circadian rhythms. 2017 is not long ago. So we are understanding now more than ever how circadian rhythm is critical in health. And from an addiction standpoint, it helps lower cravings. Everybody's circadian rhythm is really shot after they when they're coming into early recovery and after they stop using substances. That is just the nature of it. They're, definitely not seeing sunrise and doing things in a normal cadence. So their body has no idea what time it is for some people, decades. So it can really wreak havoc on the mitochondria. Anyway, we don't want to go down too many.
Yeah. So before we started recording, Laura was telling us how she'd just gotten a big dose of ionizing radiation, right, from an X-ray. And that's a reminder, that we all, there's absolutely no controversy. It's universally accepted that ionizing radiation is incredibly harmful to our health. And the mechanism is that because ionizing radiation ionizes our cells, that is, it kicks electrons loose from the cells in our body. So we all know that actually kicking an electron totally out of the cell is pretty harmful. But what I heard from Laura's initial response, to my question, was that there are much subtler impacts in terms of the ways that electron flow impacts our cellular health, and then overall our overall health. Is that an accurate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you're saying you're asking about non-ionizing?
No, I'm not asking. I'm asking just about electrons in general, right? Because you were talking about the flow of electrons through mitochondria, right, and using that as basically a mechanism for health.
Yes.
And so it sounds like because we all know, but the listeners probably know this too, or assumed it. I am not an expert on quantum biology. Like I was saying, when we met was the first time I'd even heard the term, and so trying to put a little flesh on those bones for the listeners is that the flow of electrons in our bodies, even if we're not talking about the flow of electrons in terms of cells being ionized, the flow of electrons in our bodies has a significant impact on our health.
Yes.
That is what our redox is, and that's what we're building.
So what's redox?
So redox is it's a short word for reduction and oxidation, but basically, simply put, it is your body's ability to take in the energy and then convert that energy. That's happening in that electron transport chain. So we want those electrons flowing nicely. And when that so there's 4 respiratory proteins in that transport chain, and then it ends with the ATP synthase, which is going to convert energy into ATP. But think of those 4 proteins, and this is how Carrie Bennett explains it, which I love because everyone will just get it. So think of those as 4 boulders. And if I gave you 4 boulders to use to cross a stream, let's say that was 12 feet wide, you'd be able to do that. You'd toss one of those boulders and you'd hop, about 3 feet apart, and you'd get across just fine.
Well, when those boulders get spread apart, that is the swelling of the electron transport chain. That swelling, in essence, is chronic inflammation. That is where inflammation's happening in the body. It doesn't matter what disease you're talking about. That is where the inflammation's happening. So if I gave you those same 4 boulders and I asked you to cross a stream that was 100 feet wide, you wouldn't be able to do it. That's what's happening to the electron when it's trying to bounce across, and it falls off because maybe we have been around our Wi-Fi and our Bluetooth and everything for way too long all day. That's dehydrating the cell, because the cells that electron transport chain is also making water, and that water is a huge part of our electric being and how we hold electric charge. But when we're starting to look at things in the quantum biology space through the lens of energy instead of the lens of like chemical, let's say. So when we look at it through the lens of energy, what we're doing when we're building our redox is we want to collect as many electrons from our environment to be negatively charged. We want to be negatively charged. The more negatively charged we are, the better our mitochondria is working, the more energy we'll have and if you think of that as money, you're spending that money all day long under the blue light, the non-native EMFs in our environment. That is spending the energy. And we can do that because we are living in this modern world. Like right now, we're all sitting in front of our Wi-Fi so we can have this conversation. But in order to balance it out, we need to be spending as much time outside in our natural environment with real light, real full spectrum light. And when we can, and this is what we talked about with you on our podcast, we can mitigate. How can we use those things in a healthy way? But it all comes down to that ability to hold a high redox. And Laura, you can add anything there if I missed anything.
I loved how you did that, and I love that simple analogy of the stream and the boulders. And I was thinking about. I'll add a few things, but one thing right away is because I've had a knee injury and I've had a lot of swelling in my knee. What do you do for swelling? You put cold, right? You try and shrink it down, right? And one of the modalities we actually use, funny enough, to shrink and get your mitochondria, all those proteins closer together to make things more efficient for the electrons passing, is actually cold therapy. So I thought that was a good little analogy. But there's a fancy term called heteroplasmy. It's good to introduce it because I think that term in 5-10 years, our kids will know it. They'll learn it in school. But heteroplasmy is this idea that the mitochondria they're getting mutations and getting sicker because they're too spread apart. The shape of the actual mitochondria is how in textbooks, if you know anything, mitochondria is a little bean-shaped cell that we learn in biology. It's inside the cell. It's a little organelle. We always imagine it as this bean shape. Well, apparently that's just for the textbooks. They really don't necessarily look like that, but they will get flattened, like they'll get really, really stretched out if they're damaged. And yeah, so I wanted to add that. Something just to add to strengthen what Andeea said, in terms of I think you are way more of a quantum biology expert, by the way, because you know so much on the non-ionizing piece. Don't sell yourself short. I think you know so much there. But we are batteries made of water, and we're charged by sunlight. And if people can just really almost, if you have to memorize that, because you're like, what? That's nothing I've ever heard before. But so in quantum biology, we really use, I mentioned cold therapy as a modality, but we really use sunlight because sunlight really helps us build that charge. And it's specifically infrared, UV light, but infrared light is super important as well. And we're also liquid crystals, which is like, what? How can we be liquid crystals? But this quantum biology really looks at the body as this organism that's filled with tons of protein. We know that we have lots of proteins in the body, but to think that those proteins are actually semiconductors, made of carbon, made of water, whereas we think of semiconductors as in Silicon Valley of being made of silicon.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so it's a really different way to look at the body and to think, okay, we need electrons. How can we get more electrons? And there's just really simple ways. And we are coaches. We are what is called applied quantum biology coaches. And so we are helping people. We're just basically helping people gather more electrons, keep those electrons, stop losing those electrons, right, Andeea? Yeah.
Yep.
So if just stepping back a little, if I came to you and I said, I'm having really hard time sleeping, my sleep is disturbed, and I'm waking up more tired than when I started. I know that you guys have talked a lot about circadian rhythms. How does the concept extend beyond the sleep to influence like metabolism, immunity, mental health? Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah. Laura, you want to take that or me?
I'm like, Andeea, you want to take that?
Well, if someone comes to me
Yeah.
and it, with sleep issues, oftentimes, sleep issues for people in early recovery. And when I say early recovery, I'm talking about the first 2 years. It's a what's called a post-acute withdrawal symptom. And before I knew this stuff, I was just like, oh, that's normal, right? It's normal for their sleep to be disturbed. And yes, in essence, it is. However, with anyone now with, an addiction recovery or not, like what you were, to speak to your question, I'm always going to ask them about their light environment because the light environment is key. Are they getting non-native EMFs at the wrong times of day? And when I say that, that's, not just talking about the Wi-Fi and all of that around us, but also blue light. So blue light it's basically all of our light bulbs. They're artificially lit with a blue light. The way that they are more energy efficient, if you will, is because the light is concentrated in on the spectrum of blue. That is actually also a very highly addictive color to be focused on, but that's how they made the light bulbs like more energy efficient. And when we're talking about sleep, that's really it's basically telling your body that it's the wrong time of day. So in the back of our eyes, so our eyes are an extension of our brain, and in the back of our eyes, we have what's called a suprachiasmatic nucleus, or the SCN. Think of that as the master clock. That clock needs to know what time it is. So that's why in quantum biology, you'll hear a lot about light because it's one of the pillars. It's actually the study of light, water, and magnetism. And so we're talking about light right now in relation to this. We're gonna need that right signal, that full spectrum light from outside in nature. Like when you think about it, we actually have only been under these artificial lights for about 140 years. When, like 143, and then like 139 years, we've been inundated with this, the electric grid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is all wreaking havoc on our mitochondria, and it's impacting our health hugely now more than ever. But when someone comes to me with sleep, I make sure that they're blue blocking at night. I give them the education around their SCN, getting that right signal, because actually that master clock, that SCN, that's the master clock that's gonna relay that information to all the other little clocks on every single cell of your body. Every single cell has a little clock on it. Now, when you're telling your body that it's noon, when you're scrolling your phone in the evening, because you're looking at this blue lit phone, you're telling your body that it's high noon. Do you think that you're going to have the right hormone pathways and the neurotransmitter cascades happening? You're not. You're definitely not. In the morning, I like to tell people like this. Think of sunrise as those hormone cascades. They really need to be set off with that sunrise light. And then there's a light, the UVA light, which is about an hour, give or take, after sunrise. That is very important for neurotransmitter
production. Now think about where you are at sunrise every day. Like some of us are sitting in front of a computer already.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is really about changing the routine, and it is going to be uncomfortable for a little bit. It is, because it's not easy to change our routine. Some of us don't have the luxury to do it. Some of us, maybe they work in a high-rise building where the windows don't even open. But this is where me and Laura come in as coaches, and we help people, because once you start getting the right light, you are going to start sleeping better in a matter of 24 to 48 hours, and that is no joke. As soon as I started blocking blue light at night, I was sleeping like a baby. It was crazy how big of an impact that really makes.
Yeah, I just want to add, right now I'm house sitting for some friends, and I'm in this old house in Vermont, and there's a router, but it's really far away from the bedroom. And there's one electrical socket, because when this house was built, their electric wasn't a thing. And it wasn't common. So even at the introductions, so there's one socket, and I was trying to plug in my phone or plug something in, and I just gave up because I'm like, well, there's nowhere I can plug in. So I just did this funny thing, and I just went to bed. And there's all these big windows that way. So when I woke up to natural light. I had nothing around me. It's the first time in I don't know how long that I've been in that situation where there's just nothing, there's no exposure to anything unnatural. And I really did I've been getting the best sleep. And it's incredible. And I woke up this morning to the sun, and I thought, wow, this is day 2 or 3 here. And my body just feels better. And my approach to the day just feels better. So I definitely feel the truth in what you were sharing about the light, and of course exposure to EMF and other environmental man-made things, frequencies.
Thanks for that testimony, Stephanie. That's like so perfect.
It's perfectly timed, because I literally woke up this morning like, wow, waking up to the sun and natural light waking me up, not an alarm. It's just very comforting and peaceful.
I can't believe you sleep until after sunrise.
I don't when I'm in a house full of, electric and EMF.
So where did you both learn what you learned to become quantum health coaches? Is there an organization or an institute or some body like that?
It's called the Institute of Applied Quantum Biology. And it started 2.5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I was actually on the first cohort. And yeah, it's pretty exciting that it is so new, but it's global, and it attracts practitioners from all over the world. But you can be a doc, you have to be some sort of a practitioner, or someone who, for example, we've interviewed twice a lady named Mawish Saeed. She is an acclaimed interior designer, fashion designer, but she was able to take the course because she's applying this to homes, and working with clients. And look, she's bringing in the non-native EMF piece, the light piece. But most people are anything from naturopaths, doctors, nutritionists, you name it. We have everything. Chiropractors, hygienists. Yeah.
And I'm wondering, going back to what we started the conversation around, which is the efficiency by which mitochondria conduct electricity. Is there a way of actually measuring that? So mitochondrial efficiency?
There is. I don't know it. To be honest, I've been hearing, I know Dr. McCullough has been teasing us with his letters saying, yeah, we're coming out with something. There's just, I'll ask you, Andy, if you know more after, but I do know that there are biomarkers in the body that you can look at to see dehydration, for example. And creatinine is one. We like to look at leptin. That gives us an idea of, often how bad your circadian rhythm is. And because if your leptin is off, it's either low or high, that precedes insulin resistance. It precedes pretty much everything, like cancer, thyroid, PCOS. Oh, sorry, I don't know if your listeners will know all these diagnoses, but leptin pretty much goes with everything. And it ties back to what Andeea said with circadian rhythm. Once you get your timing right in the body, and that starts with seeing sunrise outside or through a window if you've got a screen or if the window's open. Unfortunately, Stephanie, although the blue light woke you up, that the little bit of blue that was in that light, if the windows are closed and you're indoors, to really get the benefit, like the benefits of the light, you need to actually get outside. So we want to make sure that's clear for your listeners.
Why is that?
Explain why that is.
Ooh, the technical
Or should I? Do you want me to?
Yeah, if it's top of mind, go for it.
Okay, so a closed window, think of it as a blue light. You're not going to be getting the UVA is not going to be coming through. And I think that it's like 40% or something like that. And then I believe there's no infrared coming through. So basically all the healthy light that we need out of that full spectrum, beautiful light is being blocked. So in essence, there's only blue light coming from the window, which definitely will wake somebody up. But yes, we always tell people, like, unless you have quartz glass windows, which you highly likely don't, because that's a very expensive window. But, being that you're in a really old house, very well could be, who knows, if maybe the original glass was on before all of this technology to block UV, but everyone, it's demonized. Like they block UV in our glasses when we get our prescription. It's almost like it's this automatic thing. And we really want to encourage people to, go outside or, if it's really bad weather outside, open the window so you're getting that full spectrum light, because the window it's basically blocking and creating an alien spectrum, and we don't want that.
Can I just add that you are getting the visible colors? So if you remember back to science, your Roy G. Biv, your red, orange, yellow, but you're not getting the other red, the infrared, like she said, or the UV on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially, you add in all the non-native EMFs, you add in the screen light from your TV, your LED lights. What Andeea is saying is, in the end, we end up becoming blue light toxic because we've got way too much blue. It's not balanced with red. The way that it should be. The antidote to a lot too much blue is actually red and infrared.
Mm-hmm.
And blue light, just to give a little science on why it's so bad, is that it destroys blue light. We have blue light receptors in the bottom half of our retinas, at the very back of our eyes, called melanopsin. It destroys those photoreceptors. And when it does that, they're paired with vitamin A. Vitamin A is a great thing. We all know we need our vitamins, right? But what happens is it makes it free. It's a loose bond, and that vitamin A it makes it loose in the body, and we call that free vitamin A, and it goes rogue. The vitamin A then becomes like a free radical, if you want to call it. It's nasty, and then it destroys more photoreceptors. It destroys, going back to sleep, it destroys your melatonin. We all know that as the night goes on, we need our cortisol to die down.
Mm-hmm.
Blue light makes us produce cortisol, makes us awake. But at nighttime, we need to put that cortisol to bed, because we need the melatonin to come out to get into a nice deep sleep, and also to do all the cleaning that we need. Our body does a lot of, it has like a dishwasher cycle in the middle of the night. We need that dishwasher cycle to run every night. If it doesn't run every night, then we get inflammation. And if you want to go to the extreme, you could end up with cancer if that's not working right. So sleep is so important. And I just wanted to add, back to Stephanie. I've got this image in my mind of you in this quiet home. If you want to add in the non-native electromagnetic frequencies, they cause so much noise, right? And we have all this signaling that has to happen in our bodies. And remember, I was saying we're made of water. We're batteries made of water charged by sunlight. Sunlight is a natural EMF, electromagnetic frequency, whereas blue light, Wi-Fi routers, cell phones, all this wireless radiation, non-ionizing radiation, it's It's not, it's the opposite. It's noisy and it's interfering with the signaling that our body needs to be this beautiful orchestra in the body and make this beautiful song with what we call quantum coherence. And it's making things discoherent. And so for you to get into this house with only one place to plug in, and and yeah, you took away all that other noise, and your body,
Yeah.
heard all it had all the beautiful signaling, and of course you probably had you were low cortisol as you went to bed, and you had all this melatonin, and you had a beautiful sleep. And
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wondering to follow up, is there a way for somebody to introduce the good reds to balance out the blue light if they're in an environment where, like, I live in Vermont, I can't open the windows in the winter
I
time, but I
know,
do have to
yeah.
be, inside. Is there something that we can do individually at our homes to balance that light out?
Do you want
Yes, absolutely. So, this is another thing that Laura and I help people with. And we actually recently had Daniel Ebbett on the podcast. So, he's a light bulb expert, if you will. He's so there are healthy light bulbs. That's actually one of the simplest things to do. Because if you think about it, like people are probably listening right now, like, oh my gosh, everything needs to change. It can be really overwhelming. And the easiest thing, the simplest thing for people to start with is simply changing out light bulbs, because that doesn't, yes, it's a behavior. You have to do that. You got to buy the light bulbs and then screw them in and replace all of them. But like with like blue blockers, with going to bed at a certain time, with rearranging your schedule so you get the sunrise, all those things, that requires behavior change.
Mm.
So it's like we have to do baby steps. I've been working this lifestyle for 6 years now. I'm still making swaps. I'm still changing my behavior, still doing things. Now, if someone were to ask me, well, what's your routine, blah, 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 that it might overwhelm someone, because they're literally going to have to change so much. In fact, they might need to be changing so much that it will affect the relationships in the household.
Mm.
This goes kind of deep.
That happens a lot with EMF.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I think it depends on your why. Like I have my
Yep.
first client with a really serious cancer. Like I can't really say what it is, but it's like, just think the worst, right? She's been told her clock is ticking. And so she's ready to do everything. Yeah. And everybody's on board. It's so cool. But most people are not there, and the families are not there.
That's a
Yeah.
good point, Laura. So the precipitating event, how did you find me? A lot of people with me, they found me because addiction, is a life and death disease. Death was knocking at their door and they're ready to change.
Yeah.
So there's a stage of change that the person has to be in the right stage of change. With Laura, that person came to her in the action stage of change. They're ready to fire. They're ready to go.
Yeah.
Tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. I'm going to buy all the things, blah, blah, blah.
And
And
so,
now when I say buy all the things, I also want to make a huge point that most quantum things are free. And that is what we tell people to do first before buying the things that are going to, build in the home. Like, because there's all sorts of things that can help us be healthier, but it's gonna, it's gonna.
But to answer Stephanie, to that the actual specific to the red, so if you have to work all day, it's getting outside. It's doing we call it quantum sampling the sun, and you just go out. Even if if you wear glasses, like I don't know if you're wearing blue blocking glasses. I'm wearing blue blocking glasses.
Yeah.
I don't normally wear glasses. Andea's got blue blockers on. Take the glasses off and just sample that sun. Even 30 seconds makes a difference. 5 seconds makes a difference. And what it's doing is it's telling your mitochondria, okay, this is where we are in time and space. And they go, oh, thank God. Because when they're in front of the computer, they're getting this message of blue light. If you don't have any software, because there's a software you can put on your computer to help tone down the blue and the flicker. And if you got the blue blockers, or you can put, like she said, a red light bulb in the room, if you can do all that. But if you're not doing that, the signal coming to your body and to your mitochondria, they're sensors, right? They're like the sixth sense, and they're going, okay, it's summertime noon. Well, I don't know about you guys, but we're recording here on October 22nd, and it's, where I live in Canada, it's colder outside. The light, like we got less light, and so every time you step outside, it's like you geolocate. Your mitochondria go. And even better is to step on the ground, barefoot or in grounding shoes. It would help. But yeah, because then it's like the whole picture. Okay, oh, I got the magnetism's telling me something. And then if you want to go further, you can add the food piece in, and you can eat right now green beans and zucchini and apples are really big in my area. So I'm probably eating too many of them, but my little mitochondria are in my gut clocks. They're all going, they know the timing. They know, oh, it is October 22nd, because these just got picked and I got them from the farmer's market this weekend, for example.
So
Yeah,
how do
we gotta
you
take life
work
breaks.
with people?
Hmm?
So if someone listening to this show is interested in the information you're sharing, how do you work with people? What types of engagements?
Okay. I'll go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a course that gives this foundational education for people as they are in there. So now I look at addiction through the lens of quantum biology, because this is the thing. All the blue light toxicity symptoms that we have, like bad sleep affects our mood, it raises our blood sugar. There's all these symptoms. It's a myriad of symptoms. It's stressful. It's constantly stress and triggering your sympathetic nervous system to be on. For healing to take place, we have to have our parasympathetic system, where that's the calming system of our nervous system. That has to be turned on for healing to happen. And this excitement from our environment and our mitochondria sensing all this excitement, that's exciting our sympathetic nervous system. Basically, we're in a constant fight or flight. That's super stressful on the body. Low stress tolerance is a symptom for people in addiction. So basically, all of my point to say, post-acute withdrawal syndrome has the same symptoms as blue light toxicity. That's not good. So if you have someone in early recovery who's trying to heal themselves, trying to get their dopamine back online, trying to actually lessen these symptoms, because they are prone to relapse if they don't have the right tools, and then they're scrolling their phone at night on top of it, their post-acute withdrawal syndromes are going to be 10 times worse. So people find me through my Instagram, my website. And I work with a lot of people in either early recovery or long-term recovery, because actually I'm 16 years in recovery now, but I was 10 years into recovery when I started like doing this information. And let me tell you, I don't want to say pause was lasted that long with me, but definitely like my sleep was off and I had a lot of underlying health issues that were just simply they were simply like not going away. I had IBS. My hair actually wouldn't grow past about here. And my hair hasn't been this long since I was a young child. So there's things that start to change, like your body starts to get back online and know what time it is, and it actually starts acting regular again. And so that's how, I always introduce people to my course. So our one-on-one sessions are not me having to teach them. I want them to get the most for their money. So they take that course, and then we actually start to help, like I start to help them, like how can we now integrate these things into your life? What are you ready to do? What are you not ready to do? What do you think is woo-woo? Because a lot of people think this is woo and that this isn't true stuff. And it is very real. There is a ton of evidence and research to back what we're saying. We're not just pulling this out of someone thought of it, so we're going with it. It's not like that.
So that course you mentioned, the Quantum Recovery Reset course, that's at andeearae.com.
Yep.
We'll have that link in the show notes. It's ANDEEARAE.com. And again, we'll have that link in the show notes. And then Laura, you have a course as well. Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, I have so many courses. The problem is I have so many that I've been teaching them the last 3 years. This year I stopped in 2024. I was just nonstop building courses, but that's how I was integrating, all the information. And so, yeah, I have probably a 13-part series now on quantum health, everything from the sunlight protocol, blue light protocol, intro to quantum biology, quantum nutrition. That's really one of my specialties as a quantum nutritionist. A leptin reset protocol, quantum hydration, trying to think of them all. And then I kind of cold therapy. I have that one as well. And I'm playing at red light therapy and earthing because those are other modalities. But then I finished last year with the quantum perspective on cancer. And when I finished that one, I went, that's it. I think I can retire from building courses. That was kind of that was the biggest challenge. But the other piece specific, more of interest to you are, and healthier tech, is that I did a series on EMFs. Wrote a course 10 years ago almost now called electropollution, and then just kind of would add slides here and there, wasn't really teaching it actively. And then finally 2 years ago I went, no, this, for some reason I went, no, this is the time. So I made it more formal, and it's like EMF basics, their health risks. The big one was EMF mitigation. Absolutely, that was such a fascinating thing to build. And then finally, one called building resilience to non-native EMFs. And but how I work with clients, so they often get pieces of my workshops when I'm working one-on-one. But I have a quantum health coaching program now that it's personalized. I do one-on-one on Zoom, like virtual and in person if people are local. And then have a brand new sales page on my website for that. And then I'm starting a group called Quantum Radiance Collective. I'm starting that in January. Everything has been put off. I've had a significant knee injury, so everything's been kind of delayed a bit. But that's primarily how I work. I do other things, like I test people's homes, and I have a bunch of energy modalities that I do with clients. And really, 2025, definitely going to bring in light therapy. Andeea and I have been interviewing some interesting people on light therapy. And when Andeea said, there is research, what's the number, Andeea? Is it like 700-800 or something studies on red light therapy alone?
No, now it's like I think it's going towards 8,000. Like it
Right.
was 6,000 for a long time, and now and there is someone who keeps a record of this. I can't
In
remember
Europe.
his name,
In
but
Finland.
there's a lot of research on red light therapy,
And-
or
and-
photobiomodulation is the technical term.
And then circadian rhythm, which is really the foundational piece of quantum biology. I mean, back to your original first question was, what is quantum biology? Some people call it circadian biology. You'll hear it termed that as well. So there's, I don't even want to guess, 100,000? No, I'm not even sure, but it's really high, the amount of studies.
And so these courses you're talking about, they're available at your website, which is laurakissmannwellness.com. And again,
Yes.
we'll have that link in the show notes. And the two of you co-host the Quantum Healthy podcast,
Yes.
which is available on all major podcast, wherever you catch your pods, you can catch the Quantum Healthy podcast. And you cover a really, really fascinating sort of collection of topics that are all related in one way or another to quantum biology. And I know meeting you has been really interesting for me because, like I said, I'd never even heard this term before. And it's just getting to talk with both of you and learn about this topic. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
Awesome.
you. Yeah, and
Thank you both.
make sure people don't, if you just put in quantum health, you will get a million other shorts and whatever for different podcasts. Make sure it's healthy. That's what I've learned. Once you
Thank
put
you.
quantum
Yeah,
healthy.
Quantum Healthy podcast.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
links to AndeeaRae.com and LauraKissmannWellness.com and
Yes.
the Quantum Healthy podcast will be in the show notes. Andeea and Laura, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedules to come join us today on the
Yes,
Healthier
thank
Tech
you.
podcast.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you so much for having us.
This was so fun to do. So I felt like we were coaching together, Andeea. This is our first coaching.
Love it.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Healthier Tech Podcast. Remember to check the show notes for all the links and resources mentioned in the show. Please like and subscribe to the Healthier Tech Podcast on Apple, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice. Get your free quick start guide to building a healthier relationship with technology and our latest information at healthiertech.co.
Thank you for sticking around at the end of this podcast. We want to thank our sponsor, Viva Rays, who allows for us to get this information to you. They offer top-of-the-line blue blocking glasses, which, as we know, are critical for our health these days for blocking artificial light at night. Over 90% of our time is spent indoors under artificial lights, and this puts us all prone to circadian rhythm disruption. You can use the code Quantum Healthy for a discount. Link is in the show notes.
Thank you so much for listening to the Quantum Healthy podcast. We hope you found some value in this information. And if you feel inspired, please share it and leave us a 5-star review. This will help us reach so many more people. If you want to connect with Laura, you can find her at laurakissmanwellness.com and Andeea at andeearae.com. Links are below in the show notes. Now, go find some sunlight and embrace your own quantum healthy.